I know niggas is mad about that shit, bro. I know these niggas is mad about that shit, bro. Got to be mad about it. Got to be mad about it. Whew.
You're now tuned in
You are now tuned into
to the realest show on YouTube with your host, the Angryman.
So, we got a lot to talk about. Um, Yesterday I kind of alluded to a topic that I really wanted to tackle. I really wanted to talk about I wanted to talk about how these mainstream reporters keep debating with Republican politicians and conservative politicians. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about that topic. In addition to that, y'all forgive me. I don't know what's going on with my fucking chair. Let me tell you something. There is nothing in this world like fucking hydraulics in this shit ain't working like it's supposed to. So the chair just starts sinking. You feel what I'm saying? Like nothing pisses me off more than when you buy something. You bought something. It's brand new. You just bought it. You feel me? I haven't even had this chair I haven't even had it 6 months, I don't think. And already it's not fucking working. Like, yo, that's the reason why we gotta get back to our country making shit. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, the shit that we get sent from China and all these other manufacturers in these raggedy countries, they send shoddy bullshit, bruh. Nobody takes any pride in craftsmanship anymore. You feel what I'm saying? Like back in the day, you could buy something, you feel me? Like for instance, my grandmother had the same coffee table for my entire life, bro. For my entire life. Same coffee table. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's the annoying part. It used to be a time back in the day where you bought something, that shit lasted for mad long, like 10, 20 years. Now you buy shit and the shit just, you know. But anyway, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna discuss this really weird trend. Um, and most people won't even understand how weird this trend is. Because a lot of people came up in this age where the news reporters engage in this behavior. I came up in an age where news reporters didn't debate with politicians. They would ask politicians a question and the politician would answer, and whether the politician was telling the truth or whether he was telling a lie, the reporter didn't give a shit. He would hit him with a follow-up question or move on to a new topic. He didn't sit there and go back and forth. I've never seen a reporter go back and forth with George W. Bush. I've never seen a reporter go back and forth with Ronald Reagan. I've never seen a reporter go back and forth with Bill Clinton. Like, they just didn't do that shit. They just didn't do it. You feel me? But before we get into that topic, and I got some video proof that I'm gonna show you guys. But before we get into that topic, we got to talk about the first thing we got to talk about that I really, really want to address. I want to address the real reason why there's so much hatred for Drake in the black community. I want to address that shit. But before we get into any of these topics, yo, make sure y'all are supporting the show. Make sure y'all hitting the like button, all of this good stuff. I can see from my views, I can see from the views, the live people watching, that we're still being suppressed. For real. Like still being suppressed. That's the other thing that's going to come out sooner or later. One of these days, that shit is going to finally come out. Like, it's finally going to come out, and you know, we're going to get definitive proof that content creators like myself that talk about the type of topics I talk about have been consistently suppressed over the years. It makes absolutely no sense that me having the number of subscribers I have, it makes absolutely no sense that, you know, we're not getting a couple or even a few thousand live viewers every time we go live. It makes absolutely no sense. And I rarely talk about it because whenever you bring it up, people try to say, "Oh, you just mad because your shit ain't popping." You know what I'm saying? Like niggas that try to play you off like you just coming with conspiracy theories and shit. And nah, it doesn't make logical sense. It really doesn't make logical sense. The only way it makes logical sense is if, you know, you're being throttled. You feel what I'm saying? You're being bottlenecked. And I'm gonna tell you, look, I'm gonna tell you the reason why I know it. Tell you why I know it. Because every now and then somebody will be like, "Oh man, I finally caught you live. I ain't seen you in a minute." I do a show every day. You feel me? I do a show every single day. I do a show every day, but even though I do a show every day, you got people saying, "Yo, I ain't seen you in a minute." You'd be like, "Word?" Like we know the game that's being played. And I'm gonna be truthfully honest. Like I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of the left. Like I'm sick of them, bro. I'm sick of them. And I really wish that people on the right would stop playing. I wish they would stop playing. Like I'm trying my best to figure out, like, the left. Think about it like this. Think about it like this. This is really interesting. So what you'll notice about the left and the right, right? The left will do something messed up. And they'll do it and won't care that they're doing something messed up. And then the right will critique them for doing said messed up thing. Then when the right gets in a position of power, the right won't do the same thing to the left that the left just did to them because they're trying to be on some, well, if we do what they did, we're just as bad as them. But the problem is the left is counting on that. The left is counting on that. They're counting on that. Like they're gonna break every ethical rule that they can break. They're gonna do every sneaky, underhanded thing that they can think to do. And at the end of the day, they're counting on the right taking the high road, taking the moral high road. Like, prime example is this. People like Jasmine Crockett and numerous other lefties, they go on X every day and talk cash shit about Elon and Donald Trump. How the fuck are they getting away with that? Somebody answer that question for me. How in the crispity fuck are they getting away with that? Dana said Jasmine be on her shit, though. Jasmine be on what? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Dana Sims, Jasmine be on her shit, though. What does that mean? She tell it like it. No, the fuck she's doesn't. She's another crook in Washington. She's another damn crook in Washington. You want to know what's interesting about this? This is what kills me with you niggas. Niggas, right? You think everybody that's the same color as you and speak like you is on your fucking side. Which is ironic because that's the very thing you hated about racist white people. A racist white person will assume that all white people are on their side and never do anything wrong. Do you realize you niggas do the same exact shit? Every last one of you niggas nowadays are no different than a racist Jim Crow white man. That's how y'all operate. What did Jasmine Crockett say that has you saying she tells it like it is? I want to know what the quote was. What was the quote that she said where she told it like it was? Please help me out, nigga. What was the quote? Give me the quote. I want the quote. I'll put it up on the screen. What did she say that was so prolific? What did she say? What did she say that was so prolific? Her discussion about the start of black people. Her discussion about the state of black people. Okay, what did she say about the state of black people? What state are black people in right now? What does she say about the state of black people? Watch her video about Elon Musk. What did she say about Elon Musk? What did she say about Elon Musk?
Joining me now is someone on the front lines.
Is this what you're talking about? Is this what you're talking about right here? This is what you're talking about right here? Okay, let's see what she had to say.
Of the effort to push back against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is a Democrat of Texas. She's a member of the House Oversight Committee on DOJ. Congresswoman, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
This is a tricky one. Now, you have the benefit of you were not a member of Congress in the first Trump administration. You were in government, but this is what's your take on what resistance looks like for you, for me, for society, for those lawyers at the DOJ? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. So first of all, hats off to each and every person who literally said that I have some ethics about myself and therefore I'm just going to resign. That's as it relates to the DOJ as well as every other agency. The scary part about this, though, is that only his lackeys will be left running our governmental agencies, whatever is left of those governmental agencies. When I think about resistance, though, I've had a lot of conversations, and one of the things that keeps coming up.
So already off the rip, why is the people that continue to work for Trump, why are they lackeys? Dana? Why are they lackeys, but the people that worked for Joe Biden weren't lackeys? Dana? You still there, Dana? Why are the people that did not resign, they didn't have courage to take tough agenda? Excuse me? She's talking about the people that decided to resign because they didn't want to deal with DOJ auditing the organizations that they work for. So you have DOJ coming in to do an audit in order to make sure that the American people's money is not being wasted. And the people that were in there that resigned, she's saying that they were courageous. It sounds like to me they were in on the bullshit. It sounds like to me they resigned because they didn't want to get caught up or be culpable in what was found. That's what it sounds like to me as an intelligent person. It sounds like to me the people that remain there while there's an audit are the ones that's honest. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like to me. Let's see what else she had to say.
Is how the former governor of this state was consistently doing daily briefings in the midst of COVID because we couldn't trust anything that Donald Trump was saying about the pandemic.
Right.
So everyone tuned in to really what almost was like the shadow president, the guy that was going to give us facts and not tell us to inject ourselves with bleach.
Right.
I think that we need to do something similar to.
Okay, so number one, Trump never said inject ourselves with bleach. Another fucking lie that they keep trying to run with. Another lie that they keep trying to. And by the way, just so you know, the Democrats love to get you ghetto ratchet Negroes from the hood and put you up front to say all of their bullshit. Because if anybody challenges it, you can scream racism. That's why she's there. Okay? That's why she's right there. To be a shield for white liberals and white Democrats. So she can spew all of their nonsense with impunity and never be called out on it, because if somebody on the right that's white calls her out, she can scream racism. If somebody on the right that's black calls her out, she can call them a sellout, coon, or Uncle Tom. That's what that shit is for. Let's keep going.
To that, because all they're going to do, him and his new press secretary, is spew lies upon lies upon lies. We need to daily brief the American people. That's number one. Number two.
So let's stop right here. Number one, I haven't seen Trump or his press secretary tell a single lie yet. Unlike Joe Biden and his press secretary, who told lies every damn day, and the American people know they were lying every damn day because we saw the truth on TikTok, which is why Joe Biden wanted to get rid of TikTok, in addition to the fact that when the American people saw that they were lying, that's the reason why Trump won in a damn landslide. That's the reason why Trump got the Electoral College and the popular vote. She's sitting there speaking as if she's talking for the American people. The only problem, Jasmine Crockett, is the American people don't like you. The American people don't trust you. Stop lying and pretending like you're speaking for the American people as if the American people hate Donald Trump. They don't hate Donald Trump. They hate your party. You know, those of us that are intelligent enough to know what's going on, you know, except for Dana in the chat room. Except for Dana in the chat room, who thinks that this Project Keisha deserves to be in Congress.
Too, a lot of people are talking about, you know what, we just are looking forward to the midterms. We only need 3 more seats. I'm sure everybody's tired of getting emails, text messages, phone calls, trying to raise money. But the reality is that we have an opportunity right now. I know that a lot of people look at these seats that are available, which there's going to be a total of 3, and they say these are deep red seats. But here's the thing. We saw that in the state of Iowa, they swung a seat 27 points so that a Democrat could win. I say we have nothing to lose. We need to go out. We need to talk to those people that finally understand that the only mission that Donald Trump has is making sure that he can line his pockets, line Elon's pockets, and any other billionaire, all at.
Did Donald Trump line his pockets during his first 4 years as president? Did Donald Trump line his pockets during his first 4 years of being a president? He actually lost money. And he didn't take a salary. Elon Musk is right now doing these audits completely free. He's not getting paid to do anything. He's not getting paid to do anything. I mean, aside from the fact that he's the richest man in the world. And if you know the history of Elon, even though he's the richest man in the world, you know he's not a greedy dude. If you know Elon Musk's story and his history, even though he is the richest man in the world, he's not greedy. He's not greedy. This man literally bought Twitter just to restore free speech on there. And we know it's true because he lets her get on Twitter every day and talk shit about him. He lost money buying Twitter. He didn't have to do that. As long as he's had Twitter, I think it's just now becoming profitable. Like, let's be real about this shit. But all she's doing is projecting. Because it's her and her party that's lining their pockets and have been lining their pockets for a while now.
Our expense. It's not just going to be the people you dislike that are going to miss out on their Medicare, Medicaid, or their Social Security. Or down in the state of Florida, where 2 of these seats are, they are talking about getting.
Who's going to miss out on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security? They just did an audit of Social Security, and you know what they found? The vast majority of the people collecting Social Security ain't even alive. There's more people there are more Social Security numbers over 100 years old that's collecting Social Security than our elderly. But you ain't going to hear her address that. You're not going to hear her address that.
Getting rid of FEMA. It is time to wake up, and it doesn't mean that you're a Democrat if you vote Democratically.
So this is where I want to get to. Who's the audience to swing some of these states? Is it progressives who understand that their priorities are being crushed, or is it people who voted Republican to whom you say you didn't vote for this, did you?
Exactly.
You didn't vote for Elon Musk and a guy named Big Balls to have your documentation.
You didn't vote for Elon Musk or a guy named Big Balls to have your documentation. So this is the narrative that they're trying their best to run with. The narrative that they're trying their best to run with is, well, Elon's going to have access to your personal information. Well, guess what? Elon already had access to your personal information when he owned PayPal. If you had a PayPal account, he had all your information. But what I'm trying my best to figure out is what is this concept? What is this concept about you can't have access to my personal information because you're not an elected official? You give your personal information to a buy here, pay here car lot. You will literally walk into a buy here, pay here used car lot and fill out everywhere you go to fill out an application for any type of credit, loan. You're putting all there are numerous companies throughout the entire United States that has your personal information. At the very least, they have your name, they have your address. At the most, they have your name, address, birth date, social security number. Every bank you go to has your social security number. Nobody voted for the people that work at the bank. Damn bank teller looks at your personal information. Bank manager looks at your personal information. Car dealerships look at your personal information. Hell, car dealerships will look at if you don't go to your own credit union or get your own financing, you go to a car dealership and fill out an application to get a car, they will send that to 20 different damn finance companies. That's 20 different finance companies getting not only your name, your address, your date of birth, your social security number, and the amount of money you make. So, for the love of God, what in the crispity fuck are Democrats talking about, and why are you Americans falling for this dumb shit? In fact, one would argue that in this day and age, the concept of privacy is a myth. Not to mention how many companies nowadays ask you to verify your identity? How many companies nowadays want you to take a picture of your ID, the front and the back? How many companies, why is it, look, when a lot of these crypto exchanges like Coinbase and these different places created these, when they created these companies are allowed to collect your information. They're allowed to ask you for your social security number, for your date of birth, for your ID, all of that. Why? So you can be taxed. I find it interesting that nobody gives a shit about their personal information when they have to sign up to pay some shit. But now you're upset about your personal information when people are trying to find out and make sure you're not paying too much shit. This is the most backward shit I've ever seen in my damn life. You've spent your entire life handing out your personal information. How many times have you been in an office and they said, hey, do you have your ID and your social security card? We need to make a copy of it. How many times has that happened? How many places have you been? You go get a job, they get your social security number and your ID. You go to a temp agency, they get your social security number and your ID. So what is this goofy broad and this Kojak wannabe talking about? Like, am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, whoever sat in the room, in the conference room with the Democrats and the media and said, I know, we'll tell the American people that Elon Musk wants their personal information. Whoever came up with that is the biggest idiot on planet Earth. Because it only fools other idiots. It only fools other idiots. And here's the other thing. They keep talking about the one dude that worked for Doge that had the screen name Big Balls. They're too stupid to know that that kid is trolling them. They're too stupid to know this. The reason his screen name is Big Balls, so you dumbasses will get on TV and say Big Balls over and over again. Yo, I'm telling you right now, a lot of these people in the mainstream media, they are dinosaurs, bruh. They are out of touch. They don't live in the real world, fam. They don't even understand the world that they live in anymore. It's ridiculous. Like, yo, the next thing you know, they're gonna be pulling up other people that work for Doge, and they're gonna be like, yeah, there's another guy in here by the name of IP Freely. Okay. Here's another guy whose name is Hugh G. Rection. Hugh G. Rection. Why should he have your personal information? Mr. IP Freely and Hugh G. Rection. Why should they have your personal information? It's like, how stupid are you?
Yeah.
How does that message get out there in a way that that entire audience hears it?
I think that you're right. Definitely the entire audience. I just don't know how many progressives exist in Matt Gaetz' former district, right? But I do think that there are farmers in that district, farmers that are concerned because they rely upon monies as it relates to USAID and other monies that are now being...
Oh, she's defending USAID. Oh, what a surprise. Where did Dana go? Is Dana still in here? Where are you, Dana? You still in here, Dana? You still in here? You poor misguided bastard. Are you still in here? You still in here, right? Okay. So this is who you're saying tells it like it is. The person who just sat here and tried to defend USAID, which is obviously a government slush fund. This is what you want to defend. This is what you want to defend. Now, you might sit here and say, but Angryman, they told you that it was corrupt. How do you know if it's corrupt? Let me break down how I know USAID is corrupt. Because the only thing they addressed about USAID is that Trump shut it down. Not a single one of them has came out and said, condoms for the Taliban? That's not a thing. Sesame Street for Al Qaeda? That's not a for the Middle East. That's not a thing. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them have dusted off their soapbox and denied any of the findings that Doge has produced. Not a single one of them. You name the one. That's what I want you to do, Dana. I want you to name for me the Democrat politician that denied the findings of Doge. That's what I want you to do. Give me their name. Who was it? Did Cory Booker deny it? Did Jasmine Crockett deny it? Did Ayanna, Little Bill, did she deny it? Did Chuck Schumer deny it? Did Hakeem Jeffries deny it? Did any of them deny it? Huh? Chop, chop. Did any of them deny it? See, I'm going to tell you some real shit, Dana. I don't know if you watched my show before, but you have stepped into the shit, sir. You've stepped into the wrong show. You've stepped into the wrong show with that pro-black, I'ma stand with my sister, Jasmine Crockett bullshit. You stepped into the wrong, bro. You stepped into a hornet's nest, and you don't even realize it. You don't even realize it. You in here defending a person that's in Congress that's mentally ill. You in here defending a person in Congress that is mentally ill. Please explain to me why you would defend a mentally ill person. Please explain it to me. She got to Congress, didn't hate. I mean, I'm saying, it is what it is. She ain't the only idiot in Congress, and she won't be the last. AOC got to Congress. That ain't saying much. Hell, Kamala made it all the way to VP. That ain't saying much. So I'm going to ask again, why are you defending a mentally ill person? Why? Please explain to me why you're defending a mentally ill person. I need you to answer that for me. Why are you defending a mentally ill person? You said, who ain't mentally ill? I'm not mentally ill. I'm not mentally ill. So you're admitting that she's a mentally ill person. So you're admitting she's a mentally ill person. You're admitting it, right? Better yet, you're probably saying, well, wait a minute, angry man. What is the basis for her mental illness? What do you mean she's mentally ill? Would anybody like me to explain why she's mentally ill? Said maybe for trying to do what most blacks ain't. Maybe for trying to do what most blacks ain't. That's what he said, y'all. That's what he said, y'all. That's what he said. He said, yes, please explain. I've heard Jasmine Crockett numerous times talk about the oppression of black people and white supremacy. Right? Am I wrong? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard Jasmine Crockett numerous times talk about the oppression of black people and the problem of white supremacy. Right? How can you talk about the oppression of black people and be against white supremacy with a white woman's wig on your head? Dana said, if you can do better, maybe trying to motivate blacks to take her place. What do you mean, if I can do better? I'm already doing better. I'm already doing better. I'm one of the people that woke a lot of black people up to the bullshit of the Democrats. Or maybe you didn't hear Joy Reid on her show talking about they've got a coalition of Elon Musk and these manosphere podcasts. Maybe you didn't hear her when she said that. Maybe you didn't hear her when she said that. Like you really talking to the wrong person, bro. You really talking to the wrong person because shows like MSNBC, a lot of those shows, a lot of those left-leaning shows, they actually get less views than me. They actually get less views than me. And keep in mind, I'm not a congressman. I'm not a congressman. I'm not a politician. I'm not a news media talking head. I'm not a news reporter. I'm not none of that shit. I'm none of that shit. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. She can keep going down the route she's going. She can keep going down the route she's going. When it come time for her to be up for re-election, when is Jasmine Crockett up for re-election? When is she up for re-election? Does anybody know? Is she up for re-election in the midterm? $2026, right? She'd be lucky if she keep her job. She'd be lucky if she keep her job. She'd be lucky if she keep her job. Let her keep going. Let her keep going the route she going. In numerous, the biggest issues in America, right? The border, the gender issue, the Doge thing. Trump has like a 60-some% approval rating. The Democrats have the lowest approval rating that they've had in recent history. The lowest. I think it's like 30-some%. It is ridiculously low. They have the lowest approval rating they've had in recent history. Their party is rudderless, captainless. They don't have nobody of any value to lead them or lead the charge, because the leaders that used to be in their party are old and decrepit or defunct. You feel me? Biden can't do it. He can't pass it down to nobody because Biden didn't have no damn coalition. It was fabricated. Kamala ain't got no coalition. It was fabricated. Barack didn't have a coalition. It's fabricated. So you look at Trump. Trump has the MAGA movement. What movement did the rest of them have? Right now, the Democrat Party is in dire straits. Right now, the Democrat Party is in such bad shape that its donors have started cutting their funding. The donors don't even want to back them. The Democrat donors don't even want to back them right now. You take that in addition to the fact that they no longer have access to USAID funds, they're in bad shape. They in bad shape. So they can get on TV and they can put on a front all they want. But let me tell you something right now. They are worried. Okay? They are worried. That's why they out in full force protesting and singing songs. And let me tell you something else that I noticed too. And you correct me. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, right? Do you notice that the Democrats that are out protesting right now, there's two things missing? One, they got to sing their own songs because they don't have any celebrities backing them right now. Y'all didn't notice that? They doing all this protesting. Not a single celebrity has jumped out there to protest with them. Tell you something else, too. Democrats out there protesting right now. Look in those crowds and tell me if you see any black faces. Look in those crowds and tell me if you see any black faces.
Dismantled, and it means that you may lose your family farm. It may be bought up by a corporate organization. And so I think just having very real conversations. We've seen people who have talked about, well, we don't want you firing the people at the VA, or maybe it's somebody that has to fly all the time and they're concerned because we have a record.
The VA needs to be fixed as well.
Number of planes literally falling out of the sky because he decided he was going to appoint some guy from Fox to be over transportation. But at the end of the day, there were those.
You hear this bullshit? You hear this bullshit? They recently wanted to blame Trump for a plane that crashed in Canada.
That never believed that we could end up.
And you know what the sad part is? This is the sad part. This is the same playbook from 2016. It's the same playbook. It's the same playbook. We don't like that Donald Trump became president, so we're going to talk shit about him every chance we get. It's the same playbook. Same playbook. Only difference is this time the American public ain't falling for it. And quite frankly, the American public is sick of it. And I'm going to tell you something else the American public is sick of. The American B-Dub.
Up with 2 senators in the state of Georgia, and we did. There were those that never believed we could have a Democrat representing Alabama, and in that special election, we did. So I think if there's any point in time that the people should rise up and figure out where should I focus my attention, it's on these special elections, and it's having real conversations on the doors with real people talking about what's really happening and not the lies that they're putting out there.
I want to go back to this idea. There are a lot of people frustrated about where a lot of Democrats are in this mix.
Yeah.
You're out there a lot. We've talked several times. You've got a take on everything that happens. This concept about a daily briefing. It's we've talked about whether we should act more like a parliamentary system here, where the opposition's got a job to do every day, and you see them as often as you see a prime minister. What does that look like? Have you had this conversation with a lot of your colleagues about how this looks?
I've been trying to work through it because I think when we compare it to what was happening in COVID, it was just one subject.
Right.
And for us as Democrats, we like to have experts. We don't just want to talk in mouth, right? And so it's a matter of how do we know what's coming to make sure that we've got the right expert on hands. But I think that it would be great if at least maybe every Friday we have a different attorney general or the same one that talks about the status of the cases, right? I think that there's things that we can do. We can just.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, those Democrat judges, they rejected the Democrats' push to try to stop Doge. Told you that shit wasn't going to stand. I told you that shit wasn't going to stand. You cannot tell the chief executive of the executive branch what he can do with the executive branch. You can't do that. And what's really fucking annoying to me is the moment that look, here's the thing, Democrats. You can't try to change the rules of the Constitution because you don't like the president that got elected. You don't get to change the rules of the Constitution because you don't like the guy that got elected president. It doesn't work that way.
Just maybe decide on what days we're going to have transportation, and maybe we can pull on Secretary Buttigieg to come through and say, this is the day that I will pick up and I will talk about what's happening at.
And you know what this is? She's sitting here saying, she's basically sitting up here saying that instead of listening to Donald Trump and Donald Trump's press secretary, let's get other people like attorneys general and this individual and that individual to report to the American people. You know what that's called, Jasmine Crockett? It's called sedition. You're basically trying to convince the United States government to ignore the commander-in-chief and usurp his power and authority. Like, why isn't the right calling them out on this shit? Why isn't the right calling them out on this shit? If you don't like the president that is in office, resign. 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 If you hate the president that is in office so much that you don't want to work with him for the sake of the American people, get your trifling ass out of Congress. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to sit up on TV and try to convince the rest of the government that they need to help you usurp the president's power.
FAA. I think we also have to start having some field hearings. We've got to go into their territory. We've got to explain to people in rural America, the reason that you don't have hospitals is because of their policies. The reasons you're not going to have schools is because of their policies. The reason that you had access to more jobs, more health care, as well as the next level of farming was because Democrats were the ones that wanted to make sure that you could have broadband access.
Lies. Democrats wanted to make sure you had broadband access. So then explain to me this. If Democrats wanted to make sure that they had broadband access, why the hell is it now all of a sudden people in rural America are able to get broadband access through Starlink? That's not something that you Democrats did. Where the hell were you after Hurricane Helene when those people in Western North Carolina didn't have any communications? Oh, I know. You had the FEMA funds in a bunch of trailers in an abandoned parking lot, pretending like you didn't know where the money was at. Oh, I know. You took 59 million of the money and sent it to New York to pay for luxury hotels for migrants. Which is another thing, by the way. They came out on television and said they didn't have any money, that FEMA had ran out of money. And about a week ago, somebody got caught sending $59 million to New York. So what I'm wondering is if we have the video evidence of the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and the lies that were told about the funding, and then we just witnessed them send $59 million to New York from FEMA, why ain't nobody indicted yet? Why is nobody indicted yet? Someone stood their ass in front of the American people and said FEMA didn't have any money or FEMA was running out of money. You offered the people in Western North Carolina $750 each. And you just recently sent $59 million to New York to pay for the hotel rooms of migrants. When is somebody going to jail? When is somebody going to jail? This is not a game. People in Western North Carolina lost their lives because of this. Y'all realize this shit?
We've got to start having the conversations instead of just ceding the territory, because the reality is that right now they're trying to cut SNAP benefits. You know who uses more SNAP benefits than anybody else? It's rural America.
Yeah.
It's not urban America. We have a story for every single.
Do y'all give a damn if they cut SNAP benefits? Who press 1 if you don't give a damn if they cut SNAP benefits. Press 1 if you don't give a damn if they cut SNAP benefits. SNAP is food stamps.
Person who's not a billionaire in this country, and it's time for us to tell it.
So you had an interesting story, which I wasn't going to bring up because my parents watched. This show, but
not urban America. We have a story for every single person who's not a billionaire in this country, and it's time for us to tell it.
So you
says the millionaire who isn't supposed to be a millionaire. Says the congresswoman millionaire who's not supposed to be a millionaire. Where'd your millions come from, Jasmine? Where did your millions come from? We know where Elon's billions came from. We know where his money came from. Where did your money come from? We know where his money came from. Shit, everybody uses PayPal. I can't go out of the damn house without seeing at least 10 Teslas on any given day. We know where Elon's money came from. Where did your money come from, Jasmine? Other than you being in Congress, I don't know nothing about nothing else you've done. How are you a millionaire? Daughter of a pastor. How are you a millionaire? You
had an interesting story, which I wasn't going to bring up because my parents watched this show, but you were involved in a hearing with Elon Musk about condoms. Right? Do you remember this whole?
It wasn't with Elon. Elon, if you're watching, come through, boo, because you haven't shown up to the Doge subcommittee.
And there it is right there. Come through, boo. That's why you like her, Dana? Because she talk like your mama? Is that why you like her? See, here's my thing, right? I grew up in a different time. I grew up in a time where we had a higher estimation of politicians. In fact, when I was growing up, Bill Clinton being accused of having sexual relations with a staffer was the most ridiculous thing in political history. We had a different estimation of politicians. In fact, there was a time where, guess what? If you spoke like the chick at the gas station that works behind the counter, you're not getting elected. You're not getting elected. You're not getting elected. But that's why Dana like her. Because that's all it takes to trick niggas. That's all it takes to trick niggas. Slap me some skin, man. That's cap. Come through, boo. What it is. That's all it takes to trick niggas. That's all it takes. Bill Clinton tricked y'all because he played the saxophone and wore shades. And allowed a rumor to spread that he smoked weed. That's all it took for you niggas to call him the first black president. That's all it took. That's all it took. He was like, Bill Clinton, he the first black president. He the first black president. Y'all loved him. Loved him. Same individual that signed the 94 crime bill into law that sent a lot of you niggas to prison. You loved him. He is the president that presided over the 3-strike rule. You loved him. He's the president that changed the law that made us not equal under the law. The Violence Against Women's Act. He's the reason why you can't get into an argument with your woman without the police wanting to come and lock your ass up and give you a higher charge than she would get if she was trying to do something to you. He's the reason you got these ridiculous child support laws that are unfair to men. Him, the one y'all call the first black president. See, this is how they do you. What they do is they find somebody that you can identify with, and then they use that person to do the most egregious shit because you look at that person and say, there's no way that they would ever do that. There's no way that Jasmine Crockett would be involved in anything nefarious. She's a sister from around the way. Just listen to the way she talk. Her daddy was a Baptist preacher. Just listen to the way she talk. I know she telling the truth. Just listen to how she talk, honey child. Just listen how she talk. You think she give a damn about the American people. She don't even like herself. She don't even like herself. If she did, she wouldn't be sitting there with that on her head and that ton of makeup on her damn face. She don't even like herself, but you think she like you? You niggas is crazy. You niggas are crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And you called him out at that subcommittee.
Yes.
But this became weird because Buddy Carter, your colleague from Georgia, started talking about how we were giving condoms to the Taliban. And then Donald Trump himself, then it became about Gaza, but it would have to have been about 7,000 condoms per person. And then he said it was just Hamas, which none of it made sense. But it caused a lot of people to have to run around and follow the story and find out that we give condoms as part of USAID to prevent the spread of HIV to a place in Mozambique called Gaza province.
Correct.
This is the nonsense we have to deal with here.
It's not even just nonsense. It's just.
So you notice he said something about the condoms. I fucking hate this goddamn chair. He said something about the condoms. She's sitting there shaking her head like no, but then he finishes it up by saying, yeah, we did send condoms. Which one is it? Which one is it? Which one is it? Did you see her sitting there shaking her head like this? Which one is it?
That they're idiots. I mean, these are the same guys, remember, as it relates to our nuclear stockpile, right? They're like, oh, wait a minute, we needed those guys?
Yeah.
Oh, can we get them back? Oh, we don't know how to. Like, I don't know how anyone in this country can look at this administration and feel some semblance of any type of confidence, right? And
I didn't hear nothing out of this woman's mouth when Joe Biden was in office. When Joe Biden was bungling his way through his 4 years, I didn't hear nothing from this woman. And by the way, Dana, you still in here? You still in here, Dana? You still in here, Dana? Say something, bro. Because I didn't hear her say a damn thing about the state of Black America. Y'all hear her say something about the state of Black America? Did y'all hear her say anything about the state of Black America? He's watching. He just don't want to say nothing. It's all good. I'm gonna scroll up and find him. I don't see him. Tell you what, BINO Nation. If you ever see that Negro in my chat room again, snipe his ass on sight. If you ever see that Negro, snipe his ass on sight. Now don't get me wrong. I don't mind reviewing a Jasmine Crockett video and debunking her bullshit. But I feel like the nigga tricked us into watching the shit because she damn sure didn't say nothing about the state of the black community. You see that nigga, because I know he's still watching, and I know he's still in here. I know he's still watching, and I know he's still in here. See, niggas done got slick. They know how I get down. He probably like, man, he just asked me to say something so he can boot me out of the chat. You 100% right. You 100% right. But it's all good. You'll come in here one day and fuck up and say something. Yo, shout out to Edgar. Shout out to Gone Postal. Shout out to Big Mike. He said they always bring out the Negro bed winch. Always. Always. It never fails. Always. Shout out to Cali Bills. He said, here's something for the show. Glad I caught the live stream again. Keep up the good work.
$100 boss up. Going down. Stack up and match up.
Appreciate that, fam. See, shout out to Detroit 313. Detroit 313 said Jasmine Crockett said trans people are compared to Black America, but she's phenomenal woman. Yo, shout out to Yoshi said, who in the hell on God's green earth would believe what women is saying? Shout out to Noodle said, internet, cell phone, utilities, we got it all. Shout out to the world of Sean Wildcat said, AM Bob Proctor used to say all the time, people don't think. They just use their habitual reptilian mind. Shameful. Shout out to Shamar. He said, keep cooking. Shout out to the lowly one. Said, I heard that the plane that flipped upside down was full of unqualified women flying it. Shout out to Jerome. Said, Democrats will never win another election if they depend on the BW. Shout out to Ricky Tan from Vietnam. Said, AM, you got to get on Charlie Kirk or Megyn Kelly's channel with these talking points and questions on why Republicans aren't moving on certain things. Cook, AM. Shout out to the world of Sean Wildcat. He said, she just trying to put her name in the hat to become president in the future. Oh, Lord have mercy. Shout out to Jay Collins. He said that wig is literally lifting off her head. Shout out to Bomber Monk Assassin. Said Jasmine lacks professionalism. Shout out to the lowly one. Said nuclear. Weren't they the same people trying to force electric on people? Yep. Yes, yes, yes. Shout out to Bryant. Appreciate you. Yo, make sure y'all support the stream. Make sure y'all hit the Cash App, all that good stuff. We need another sponsor on the Cash App side of the game. We need another sponsor on the Cash App side of the game. So, now we can get back to the first topic that I wanted to talk about, which I know is gonna annoy and piss off some people, but you know, it is what it is. So I want to talk about this irrational hatred that the black community seems to have for Drake, right? This irrational hatred. You feel me? So after the Kendrick and Drake beef, right? Right after the Kendrick and Drake beef, you had a bunch of people running around saying Kendrick won. Kendrick won. The boy is done. Like y'all probably saw it on my show. Y'all saw it on my show. Y'all seen dudes talking about some, yo, Drake is done. It's over for him. It's a wrap, right? All of that shit, right? But yet and still, Drake was still the highest streamed artist every single month of last year. And he didn't even drop an album. January of 2025, he hit 1 billion streams just in the month of January. He drops this album with P&D, the album doing extremely well in spite of the fact that streaming services like Spotify were trying to suppress it initially. In addition to him going on tour and selling out, what was it, 450,000 seat venues in 3 minutes? How is it over for him? How? Or better yet, why don't we just address the elephant in the room? Why don't we address the real reason why Kendrick doesn't like him, which is also the real reason why a portion of the black community don't like him? Would y'all like to know the real reason? Press 1 if you would like to know the real reason why Kendrick Lamar, along with a portion of the black community, don't like him. Look at this. See what I mean? This is what I'm talking about right here. See that right there? Y'all see that message? Y'all see what the message says? The message says Drake is still popular. He lost the beef. See that right there? Let me break down for y'all why this is going on. The black community has a dirty little secret. They never want to admit it. It's taboo to even bring it up. Right? It's taboo to even, bring it up. You feel what I'm saying? Even when I bring it up on this show, you'll notice that black men, usually of the darker complexion, will try to gaslight me into believing that it's not about that. How many times have y'all seen that? How many times have y'all seen me bring up the colorism aspect of it, and the black men on the panel that are usually of the darker complexion will try to tell me, nah, angry man, that ain't what it is. You off on this one. It's kind of like, and I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you brothers something, especially you darker skinned brothers that do that shit. Whenever you do that, you know the first thing I think about? I think about a racist white man from the Jim Crow era treating somebody that's black like shit, but pretending like it's not because they're black. You niggas love to treat light-skinned black people like shit. But when someone calls you out on your mistreatment of lighter-skinned black people, you love to pretend that's not the reason. You love to pretend that's not the reason. Going back to what I was saying. Here's the thing. I have understood thoroughly as much as I didn't want to believe this, right? As much as I didn't want to believe this, hold on, y'all. As much as I didn't want to believe this, it's painfully obvious and just 100% clear. A large portion of these K Dot fans, they hate Drake not because they're that big of a K Dot fan, right? I've seen this my entire life. I've seen this sort of pervasive type of ideology in the black community for a long time, right? They hate Drake because of what he represents. You feel me? They hate Drake because of what he represents. You feel me? And there's a lot of history that we don't really talk about. If you go, matter of fact, if you go and you read Thomas Sowell's Black Rednecks and White Liberals, right? If you go read that, there's a portion where he speaks about a divide that happened at one point in history between the lighter skinned black people and the darker skinned black people, where, you know, there's even other content creators that have talked about it before, where they claim that, you know, they tried to create a buffer class between white people and black people, which would have been light skinned people. So it was kind of like light skinned people were being elevated above the darker skinned people, right? And that's where a lot of that animosity comes from, that has seemed to have made its way in our culture, right? But you got niggas that don't want to admit this shit. Because to admit that they don't like Drake simply because he's light-skinned, that would open up a whole other can of worms that, quite frankly, the black community is just not ready to deal with or cope with, right? Because it poses a lot of questions if you're really delving into it. You feel what I'm saying? So, and y'all forgive me, I'm texting right now. It opens up questions that the black community is just not ready to face. It's not ready to face it. And namely, look, it's a sensitive subject. And I'll try to tackle it here. But I can tell you right now, some people are going to be offended when I break this shit down. Do y'all want me to break it down? Press 1 if y'all want me to break it down. I'll break it down. I don't have no problem doing that. If you want me to break it down, I can break it down. Press 1 if you want me to break it down. I have no problem doing it. Okay. So first thing is this, right? When you look at the era when they tried to create this sort of buffer class of black people, did light-skinned people benefit from that? Yes, they did. But what you need to understand is that the purpose of that, more than anything, was to divide the black community, right? And this is why when you get into the 60s and the 70s, you kind of see this push for black unity, where the concept is black is beautiful. Doesn't matter what your particular skin tone is, black is black. That's the concept that we all accepted, right? But the wounds or the scars from certain situations were still there, because there was still a class of light-skinned people that truly did believe they were superior because of being propped up. You feel me? Which did not help, because black people as a whole already have an inferiority complex when it comes to white or anything light. You understand what I'm saying? So black people have never dealt with that issue. So whenever you see brothers that just seem adamant about hating Drake to the point where they want to lie and say, well, he's not that good and he's this or he's that, like, you know, all of those different things, right? The reason why Drake's success is so problematic for them is because they believe that Drake has some sort of privilege, being that he is lighter skinned, being that he has, you know, a mother that's not black. But never do they consider the fact that maybe Drake didn't benefit from that side of his family, considering that his mother chose to be with a black man. They never consider that. I mean, if you're looking at what's going on right now in the music industry, we know who runs the music industry. So you got to ask yourself, why would the music industry take Kendrick's side over Drake's? That doesn't really make sense. It's not common for people of a particular tribe to take the side of someone over a person that's part of their tribe, unless they don't view that person as part of their tribe. You may have the misconception, you may be one of the people that think that, oh, the only reason he's successful is because of his mother's side of the family, when it could be possible that the only reason he's successful is because of his father's side of the family, which is where his musical talent comes from. But it's also his father's side of the family that puts him in the position to where the people that run the music industry are not going to totally accept him. The same way that the black part of the culture doesn't completely accept him. Right? But niggas don't care about that. Niggas are just mad at Drake because he's, what's the best way for me to say this? Drake is the Michael Jordan of rap right now. No matter how much you hate on him, he's going to win. No matter what you try to do to him, he's going to win. In fact, it's even worse than that. Drake is this era's Michael Jackson. And that's not a joke. I'm dead serious. He's this era's Michael Jackson. I mean, you can hate that, you can dislike it, you can feel some type of way about it. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. But here's the thing, right? I don't even know if I want to say this. I don't even know if I want to say this. Drake is everything that black culture hates while simultaneously being everything that black culture loves. If that makes sense. Drake is everything that the black culture loves and hates simultaneously. In fact, I would argue that the only reason you hate him the way you do is because he's half white. If he was full white, you wouldn't hate him. In fact, when niggas come out and say, "Oh, Drake is a white boy. He act like a white boy." I be sitting there thinking, you don't think he a white boy. You don't think he a white boy. Because if you really thought he was a white boy, you wouldn't have a problem with nothing that he do. If you really thought he was a white boy, you wouldn't have no problem with him painting his nails. You wouldn't have no problem with him putting barrettes in his hair. You wouldn't have no problem with him doing none of that shit. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Cause look, I'll put it to you like this. How many Dragon Ball Z fans do we have in here? How many Dragon Ball Z fans do we got in here? So let me break it down to you like this. Let me break it down to you like this. The back and forth between Kendrick and Drake is representative of the back and forth between dark skinned niggas and light skinned niggas. And this is why the beef is so contentious. If you notice, none of the other beefs have been like this. If you've noticed, none of the other beefs have been like this. The reason this beef is so contentious is because everybody in the black community that can't stand light-skinned niggas are able to express it through hatred for Drake and get away with it. Okay? Drake, just like light-skinned people, look, Kendrick hates Drake because he's light-skinned and successful, and he gets women. Kendrick does not believe that in black culture, a light-skinned dude like Drake should be more successful than him. In Kendrick's mind, he should be the chosen one, not this half-white dude that ain't with the culture. Right? So their interaction plays out like dark-skinned, light-skinned interaction. The dark-skinned dude, Kendrick, can't stand the light-skinned dude, Drake, is winning, gets women, right? Is in a higher position than he is. So he's mad at him. But the light-skinned dude, Drake, ain't really thinking about him. The light-skinned dude, Drake, is just trying to keep winning. Now, when he sees that the dark-skinned dude is trying to get at him, he's like, you really trying to get at me? I don't even got a problem with you. That is the typical experience of dark, light skin when it comes to the black community. Light-skinned people don't have nothing against dark-skinned people, but dark-skinned people seem to have a lot against light-skinned people. Now, how does this pertain to Dragon Ball Z? If you want to understand the back and forth between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, or the back and forth between dark-skinned niggas and light-skinned niggas, you look no further than the beef between Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta represents the dark-skinned niggas. Goku represents the light-skinned niggas. Vegeta feels like he's worthy. He's the prince of all Saiyans because he is the chosen one, right? He's the pure blood Saiyan. The same way dark-skinned people feel like they're the chosen ones because they have the darker skin. They have more of a claim to darkness than light-skinned niggas. What pisses off Vegeta about Goku is Goku's supposed to be a low-ranking soldier, but for some reason he keeps passing him. The same way dark-skinned niggas think light-skinned niggas are weaker than dark-skinned niggas, but we keep winning. Now, Goku don't give a shit about what Vegeta think. Goku is just winning because that's just what he does. He pushes himself to win. That's what Drake is doing. That's what Chris Brown is doing. That's what most light-skinned niggas do. We not trying to win to make dark-skinned niggas look bad. We trying to win because we want to win. We ain't thinking about that shit. Vegeta has an inferiority complex because he's trying to figure out how, with his royal blood, can a commoner like Goku surpass him. The same way dark-skinned niggas feel that they are more pure when it comes to blackness, are trying to figure out how us light-skinned niggas who have less melanin oftentimes surpass them. That's what it is. That's all it is. Kendrick Lamar is Vegeta and Drake is Goku. Every time Vegeta think he's caught up with Goku, Goku goes to another level. Just like every time Kendrick thinks he's catching up to Drake, Drake goes to another level. Goku's success. Vegeta feels that Goku's success is an affront to him, is an insult to him. The same way Kendrick feels that Drake's success is an affront to him, is an insult to him. How long was Vegeta hating on Goku? What did Kendrick say? I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. There's dark-skinned dudes out here right now. They see a light-skinned dude winning, they be like, look at him, pretty motherfucker. Look at this. 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 See what I mean? See what I mean? Every time I talk about this real topic, that's a real issue. Look at that shit right there. Look at that shit right there. He said, Fish Grease said, dark-skinned people don't hate y'all. We got to do this every night, question mark. We check this out, bro. I can talk about this as much as I want to fucking talk about it. Now, watch this. To everybody that's in here, that watch the show on a regular basis, do I talk about colorism every night? Do I talk about colorism every night? Then what the fuck is this nigga talking about? You see what I mean? Do you see the gaslighting? That's how hard the nigga gotta reach to try to gaslight me. Do we gotta talk about this every night? No, we gonna talk about it as much as I wanna talk about it, nigga. Y'all niggas don't want to talk about colorism the way the Democrats don't want to talk about Doge. Huh? You niggas don't want to talk about colorism the way the Democrats don't want to talk about where that taxpayer money went. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. The way niggas be hating on Drake, I've never witnessed nothing like it before in my life. And you know why? You want to know why? Because look, here's the thing. In the 80s, when light-skinned dudes was getting movie roles and all types of shit, right? When we got into the 90s and you started seeing a lot of dark-skinned brothers getting certain roles and stuff, you know, the Morris Chestnuts, all of those different dudes, Wesley Snipes, what was y'all running around saying? Y'all light-skinned dudes out of style. Didn't anybody tell you light-skinned dudes went out of style in the 80s? That's us culturally. That's our culture saying that. That's black culture saying that. Black culture is saying light-skinned dudes went out of style in the 80s, yet and still, light-skinned nigga Drake is dominating in rap. That shit hurt. Just admit it. Just admit it. Just admit it. Just admit that it hurts. Just admit that it gets on your nerves. Just admit that you don't like the fact that in the culture, we have a genre of music that was invented in the 70s called hip hop. And you believe the only people that should own it, produce it, excel at it, should be dark-skinned black people. Just admit that shit. You niggas have been trying your best to kick everybody out of hip-hop that played a role in it. You've been trying to kick MC Search out of hip-hop. You've been trying to kick Eminem out of hip-hop. You've been trying to kick Puerto Ricans out of hip-hop. Y'all been trying to kick everybody out of hip-hop so that you can say it's just a black thing. And when I say black, I mean dark-skinned black people. So to have a light-skinned dude like Drake be at the top of it, it gets on your nerves. And the reason why it gets on your nerves is because it reaffirms your false inferiority complex. That's all it is. That's all it is. You have an inferiority complex. You pretend to be prideful, but you're really not. You pretend to be proud of your blackness, but you faking the funk. Because if you were really proud of your blackness, that light-skinned nigga wouldn't bother you that much. And that's the damn truth. That's the truth. Plain and simple. You have an inferiority complex that, guess what? Us light-skinned niggas didn't have shit to do with that. We didn't have nothing to do with that. We had nothing to do with that. That is a you issue that you got to work out. We can't help you with that. We can't help you with that. You got to work that shit out. But the fact that this light-skinned dude winning for as long as he's been winning bothers you that much, you got some serious issues you got to work out. You got some serious issues that you got to work out. And it's really bad. It's really bad with Drake because you niggas hate the fact that women love him. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. The fact that women love him, oh my God, that drives you niggas crazy. That drives you niggas crazy. The fact that women love him and he capitalizes on women loving him. Y'all hate that shit. And the funniest thing about it is everything he's doing right now, if somebody dark-skinned was doing that shit, you wouldn't have a problem with it. You wouldn't have a problem with it. You complain about Drake being petty. 50 Cent is 1,000,000 times more petty than Drake. You don't say shit about it. You complain about Drake being at the age he's at, talking about he's immature. He's still trying to appeal to young people. He's still talking about stuff that he talked about when he was in his 20s. So is Future, but you don't have a problem with him doing it. So does Future, and Future older than Drake. So does Rick Ross. Rick Ross older than Drake. Y'all don't have no problem with these grown-ass men in their 40s still talking about moving weight, still talking about hustling, still talking about selling drugs. You don't have no problem with that. But you got a problem with a light-skinned dude that's pushing 40, who's single, talking about dealing with chicks as a single man. It doesn't even make sense. Then you claim, oh, he copies everybody's style, right? But if another black man mimics somebody else's style in a rap or does multiple genres of music, you know what you call him? Versatile. You call him versatile. You call him talented. Y'all some hypocrites. Yo, I sit back and I listen to the shit you niggas say. I listen to the shit you say about Drake. And the funniest thing about it is you goofy Negroes think you can gaslight me. And I'm talking about, and I'm not just talking about the niggas that, you know, is K-Dot fans that be in the chat room. I'm talking about niggas that come on my panel and have conversations with me. Y'all niggas don't fool me. I know you think you fool me, but you don't. You can say all of that shit. Oh, well, it's because he not from the culture. He from Canada. It's because he did this. It's because he did that. It's because of this. It's because of that. No, nigga. It's because he's half white, light-skinned. That's the reason why you don't like him. He's light-skinned, he's winning, and he get bitches. That's the reason why you don't like him. And guess what? When it come to you light-skinned niggas that don't like him, ain't no need of you trying to say, well, I don't like Drake and I'm light-skinned, so what's the difference? That don't make no difference. There's a whole bunch of you self-hating light-skinned niggas. You light-skinned and you hate other light-skinned niggas because you want to desperately be part of the dark-skinned coalition. Y'all niggas don't fool nobody. Y'all don't fool nobody. There's some of you niggas that's light-skinned that be talking about, I ain't light-skinned. Yes, you are. Yeah, yes, you are. You got light-skinned apologists that can't wait to go in on Drake because they're trying to get the validation of dark-skinned niggas. So, see, I'm with y'all. You know, they not like us. I'm with y'all. I'm with the black culture. Oh, tragic mulatto face motherfucker running around here trying to desperately get the approval of dark-skinned Negroes. And that's the reason why a lot of y'all don't like me. Because you know I don't want your validation. You want me to want your validation. You want me to hate myself because I'm light-skinned. Just like you want Drake to hate himself because he's light-skinned. See, you associate light-skinnedness with whiteness. So the same type of hatred that you have for white men, you have that hatred for light-skinned men, but you're able to express it more with light-skinned men because you feel like you can get away with it with light-skinned men. You ain't gonna bring that hatred to white men because white men ain't gonna play with you. You go towards them with all that aggression and all of that shit, and they got something for you. But you come with that aggression to light-skinned niggas, and what you do is you try to play on light-skinned people's need to be accepted by the black community. That's why you feel like you can get away with cracking jokes on us. You feel me? It's no different than when you got a white homeboy and he's the only white dude in the group and you stay cracking jokes on him about being white. You think he'll accept it because he wants to be part of the group. You think he'll accept it because he wants to be friends with you. It's the same shit you do to light-skinned niggas. You try to crack jokes on light-skinned niggas, and you think they're gonna be cool with it because, well, you know, it's cool. Y'all get to do that because y'all have been oppressed more than us. That same old fucking lie, right? Because you truly think that you're more oppressed than a light-skinned dude just because of your dark skin. Right? Because when the police round up all the niggas on the corner, they only grab the dark-skinned ones and slam them on the car, right? Right? They don't never snatch up the light-skinned folks. They see a group of black people, it's 5 dark-skinned dudes and 3 light-skinned dudes. They grab the 5 dark-skinned and tell the light-skinned dudes they can go on about their business. That's how that plays out, right? Yeah, that's how stupid y'all sound. That's how stupid y'all sound. But see, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth, right? I'm going to tell you the truth. The reason why I feel the way I feel about this is because I'm tired of making excuses for dark-skinned people's hatred of light-skinned black people like myself. I'm tired of making excuses for y'all. I'm tired of pretending like, well, you know, some people just doing that because they don't know no better. Like, I'm tired of that, bro. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of it. You feel me? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of pretending like y'all aren't what you are. Those of you that engage in that. I'm tired of pretending like y'all not bigots. Because that's all you are. When you cracking jokes on light-skinned people because they're light-skinned, you're a bigot. You're a bigot. No different than the racist white folk you claim you don't like. Soldier said, AM ain't crashing out. He's hitting the nail on the head and y'all can't take it. No, they can't take it because it's the truth. Because it's the truth. It's the truth. They can't take it because it's the truth. Like, there used to be a time where I would just ignore it because I used to believe that same bullshit. I used to believe that same pro-black rhetoric that dark-skinned people are more oppressed than light-skinned people. Or at the very least, I would be like, well, I understand, you know, because dark-skinned people do go through more bullshit than us. They do have worse stereotypes. But see, it's like a handicapped person that's a jerk. Like, how long do you think I'm gonna let you continue to be a jerk just because you feel me? Just because I feel bad for your situation. Because what happens is when people have a situation that they feel they can guilt people about, it tends to bring out the worst in them. And I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of folks, black folk, that are darker skinned. They think they can talk crazy about everybody just off of the strength that, well, I'm dark skinned and I had a rougher life than everybody else. You think just because you can claim the highest level of victimhood, that gives you the right to shit on everybody else. It don't give you the right to shit on everybody else. Especially when your entire concept isn't quantifiable. You literally are talking about a made up scenario. And when I say made up, what I mean is the concept of black being inferior is a made up concept. The same way white being superior is a made up concept. So you're literally operating off of fiction. You literally have created a mental issue on the basis of a fiction. You're not less than everybody else because you're darker. You're not more than everybody else because you're lighter. That's not the way life works. So guess what? I shouldn't have to put up with you being a jerk just because you think that because you're darker, your life is going to be harder. I shouldn't have to put up with that. The same way you shouldn't have to put up with me talking down on you simply because I think that I'm better if I'm lighter. It's the same thing, regardless of what direction. It's the same thing. Now, if I say to you, I'm better than you because you broke, that's a whole different story. If I say to you, I'm better than you because I'm more intelligent, that's a whole different story. If I say I'm better than you because I've accomplished more, that's a whole different story. Those are merit-based things. But this idea that somebody is better or worse simply because of their complexion is ridiculous. It's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. But I sit back and I watch it. I see it. I see what y'all be doing with Drake. Yo, y'all try your best to diminish that man in every category because he light skinned. How do I know that's what y'all doing? Because niggas do that same shit to me. This is something that I have experienced for my entire lifetime. This is something I've experienced for my entire lifetime. All of the jokes about being soft, all of the jokes about like all of that goofy shit. All of that goofy shit. Shout out to Floyd. He said, I am giving you a big shout out to you because of the great job you do. Appreciate you, bro.
$50 boss up. Stack up and match up.
Shout out to Mr. Lone Star. Said, black folks hate winners. We don't champion success. I call it the Mayweather effect. See, shout out to Akiak. He said, what a lot of people don't know is Drake been rapping since before his Degrassi days. He would often be late to the set because he was always in the studio recording. Recording songs. Shout out to Uno. Said 50 and still harboring resentment over some light-skinned jokes. Shaking my head. Who's 50 years old? Who's 50 years old? Who's 50 years old? Who's 50 years old? Who's 50 years old, Uno? Is he booted? Who's 50 years old? That's what I want to know. And if you're talking about me, what that let's say I was 100 years old. What the hell would my age have to do with niggas cracking light skin jokes? This nigga said 50 and still harboring resentment over some light skin jokes, shaking my head like the light skin jokes happened back in the day. Last time I checked, niggas is still telling light skin jokes. This dumbass nigga acting like light skin jokes stopped back in the day. Fuck are you talking about, nigga? Niggas can't be this stupid, bruh. Shout out to MD, said, AM, you on point with this one. They are furious that he didn't follow the traditional blueprint, and honestly, he did it better than most. The Diz said the world always tries to find ways to divide and conquer us. Light skin versus dark skin is another weaponized psychological method. Yeah, but the only problem is the niggas is perpetuating the shit. The niggas is perpetuating the shit. You feel me? And by the way, here's another thing, right? I'm not 50 yet. You feel me? I'm not 50 yet. But let me ask this question since we're in that, right? Because we a lot of times we dissect a lot of the stupid shit in the black community. So let me ask this question. Although I'm not 50 yet, why do y'all say shit like that like it's supposed to be an insult? Can somebody please explain to me why is it niggas will call a person 50 or call a person old as if that shit is supposed to be an insult? Oh, I know. I'm bugging. Do you want to know why niggas think calling somebody 50 or calling somebody old is an insult? You want to know why they do that? You want to know why they do that? Press one. Press one if you want to know why niggas do that. The reason why you niggas do that is because you've been convinced by society that your only value is in your youth. You know, when you're young and impressionable, when you're at the age where it's easier to trick you and manipulate you, when you're more likely to make mistakes, when you have the least amount of money and the least amount of experience and the least amount of wisdom. You have been convinced by the world that your value is in your youth. They do that by only picking young people to be rappers, young people to be singers, of course, young people to be athletes. Everything that you do that is of any value is always attached to your youth. Almost like you're a woman. It would make sense considering your culture is mostly matriarchal. So, of course, you as a man would judge yourself by the same standard that a woman judges herself. See, a woman knows that her value is in her beauty and her youth. And here you are, a grown-ass man, believing that your value is in your youth, like you've got some kind of biological clock. So what the world has convinced you dumb niggas of is that your value is in your youth, which is the main reason why you don't take care of your health. You niggas don't take care of your health because once you hit 30, you think your best years are behind you. I'm going to say that again. The reason why you niggas don't take care of your fucking health is because once you hit 30, you think your best years are behind you. Because you have been convinced that your value is in your youth. And you reaffirm that shit by shaming black men who have been blessed to make it to old age. So while you're running around here believing that your value is in your youth, telling other black men that their value is in their youth, old white men run the fucking world you live in. Want me to say it again? You want me to say it again? You want me to say it again? While you think that your value is in your youth, old white men run the world you live in. And you know why you can't compete with them? Because you never reached that fucking age. Dumbass nigga. Coming in here talking about you 50. Guess what? When you're a man and you're 50, you know what that means? Do you know what that means? When you're a man and you're 50 years old, do you know what that means? Press 1 if you want to know what that means. If you're a man and you're 50 years old, it means you have been a fully realized, mature man for 10 years. See, here's the misconception about men. Here's the misconception about men that you clowns don't understand, okay? You don't become an adult until you're 25. You do not become an adult until you are 25 years old. That is when your brain is done developing. So by the time you hit 30, you've only been an adult for 5 years. In another 10 years, you will be what is called a fully realized man. In other words, you are at the peak of your earning potential. You are not or no longer in a state where you're constantly horny and the opposite sex can easily manipulate you. See, what you're supposed to be doing in your 20s and your 30s is building yourself up into what you're going to be at 40. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're supposed to be doing. In your 20s and your 30s, you're supposed to be building yourself up into what you're going to be at 40. And I got news for you. If you're 50 years old and you're broke, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be broke for the rest of your life. Unless you're lucky, like Colonel Sanders or Ray Kroc. But then again, that also is a testament to, look, let me break it down for you like this. Your biggest problem as black people is you have a matriarchal culture. You have a matriarchal culture. Because you have a matriarchal culture, it focuses on the strength of the women and not the strength of the men. You look at Norse culture, right? You look at Odin and Thor. Do you realize the older they get, the stronger they get? Not weaker. The stronger they get. The older they get, the stronger they get, the wiser they get. Ask yourself this question, right? Ask yourself this question. Do you notice how fast you grow when you're a kid? You grow at a rapid rate when you're a child until you reach physical maturity. In fact, a child can grow so fast that at some point your children will be at the physical level that you're at. Which means what? Which means that human beings' growth slows down. Once you reach maturity, you stop growing. You start declining. But why? Why do you start declining? You decline because of environmental reasons. You decline because of shit that we eat, shit that we drink, the environment that we live in, because it's not natural. You're not supposed to decline like that. You're not supposed to decline like that. You just had a president that was, 82 years old? You got another president right now that's in his 80s. If black men don't make it past a certain age, in that generation, who ends up running shit? Who ends up running shit? The most hilarious thing in the world, and maybe I just think differently, but the most hilarious thing in the world that I've ever witnessed in my life is the fact that this society has tricked you ignorant Negroes into believing that there is no value in old age. Yo, we need another sponsor. We need another sponsor. Somebody need to sponsor the show on the Cash App side of the game. Yo, shout out to Muhammad. Shout out to Andre. He said, DBZ comparison legit. That's Goku and Vegeta for real. Shout out to KGY. Shout out to Terrell. He said, what the hell are these people smoking on tonight? Oh, snap. Shout out to Noodles for being a sponsor. Appreciate you, bro.
Here we go again. $100 boss up. Going down. Stack up and match up.
Shout out to Noodles. Noodles Jefferson. Appreciate you, fam. Like, yo, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Everything that black people have learned, you need to unlearn it. Like, you need to unlearn it, bruh. You need to unlearn it. in the white world, they don't even take you serious until you reach a certain age. Y'all realize that? How many of y'all realize that? In the white world, they don't even take you serious until you reach a certain age. Am I lying? We're talking about men here. We're talking about men. There's a reason why back in the day, in the colonial days, them wigs were white. There's a reason why them wigs were white. Shout out to The Vision is Real, said, please keep your foot on the back of their neck on this Drake topic and the black community's nonsense. They need to hear it. Shout out to Gino Seegers, said, on the money with this one, bruh. Shout out to Martin Muhammad. He said, great point. The real movers and shakers in the world of power are not young men, believe. Shout out to William. He said, good afternoon from Cebu, Philippines. Thank you, Angryman, for keeping it real and telling the ugly truth and fighting the good fight. Appreciate you. Shout out to Milsey Beats. I think that's how you pronounce that. Said, men, you telling a lot. Man, you telling a lot of truth. God bless you. Appreciate it. Let's see. So let's move on from that. You feel what I'm saying? Let's go into this thing about the mainstream media. So, I've been saying to you guys for the past couple of weeks, it is really getting annoying watching these media pundits constantly going back and forth, debating with the politicians that come on their show. Like, it's gotten ridiculous, bruh. It's gotten ridiculous. Like, they love to go back and forth. And like I said, when I was coming up, they didn't do this. They didn't do this. I did not see journalists trying to have a full-on debate with whatever political guest they had on their show. Now, if they was going to, usually the debates would happen between political rivals. So you would have Democrats debating Republicans, or if there was a primary, you would have Republicans debating Republicans or Democrats debating Democrats. But I've never seen the media do what they're doing now. And at this point, it is painfully obvious that the media is biased. It is painfully obvious what side they're on. It's painfully obvious that they are basically the mouthpiece of the leftists, the mouthpiece of the Democratic Party. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of this. Let's check out this example right here where Representative Tim Burchett was on CNN yesterday. Watch this.
Of Congress are.
And by the way, every time something like this happens, I got to go find the clip because the clip is not always readily available. Like I'll try to type it in on YouTube and it won't come up. I have to go find it, which, I don't think that's by accident. But check this out.
I want to talk about that. You mentioned China and the claim that some members of Congress aren't doing anything because They're making money off China. Elon Musk, for his part, as you know, does a lot of business with China. Of course, Tesla and so forth and other companies, he does business there. And he now, as you know, has been given a lot of power by President Trump. You are on the DOJ subcommittee, and the White House says in a court filing, Elon Musk is not overseeing DOJ. Did you know that?
President Trump is overseeing DOJ, ma'am. That's the bottom line. And everything that is being done has to be done through executive order, and that is through Trump. And oddly enough, Congress better get some guts and start backing this up, or the next president could undo everything that's done. And that is really my biggest fear. I don't care what title you give Elon Musk. It's amazing to me, though, that all of a sudden capitalism and making money in this country is now declared evil. The Democrats, he was their guy for so long. Now all they have is Soros and a few others. So I think that's why they're disturbed about all this.
Right, but you know, I think that there's a lot of Americans who are supportive of this effort to clear out government waste, including members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. But there's also concern by how much access Musk and DOJ staffers have to their private sensitive data. You're also on the House Oversight Committee, and given what we just talked about, Musk's investments with China and
it's so goofy. They get a narrative and they just run with it. This is how you know it's bullshit, because all of them parrot the same narrative. Now it's sensitive data. Last week it was constitutional crisis.
Of dollars before the government, and now, you know, potentially having access to all this private sensitive data and not having full transparency on what is happening with that.
Yes, ma'am.
What information do you actually have on what DOJ is doing with that data? What are your questions? What do you want to know? Certainly, as a member of the oversight, you have some questions.
Well, first of all, Elon Musk, when he owned PayPal, they never had a breach of security. IRS is a nightmare, ma'am. You have folks that still have.
Hear what he said? He said when Elon Musk owned PayPal, they never had a breach of security. In other words, he owned PayPal. He had tons of Americans' personal information, and guess what? That information was safe with him. It never got leaked. Now, notice how she's sitting there. She's going to breeze past that. She's going to pretend like he didn't even say that shit.
Ma'am, you have folks that still haven't gone back to work 3 or 4 years after COVID. As the United States is a nightmare, ma'am.
As a member of the oversight, you have some questions.
Well, first of all, Elon Musk, when he owned PayPal, they never had a breach of security. IRS is a nightmare, ma'am. You have folks that still haven't gone back to work 3 or 4 years after COVID. As a United States congressman, I can write a letter of concern over a constituent of mine having problems with the IRS, and it takes up to 6 months for me to get a response.
Look, I'm not saying there's no problems with government agencies or the IRS.
See how she's cutting them off? When did reporters do this? Gen Xers. When did reporters do this? When did reporters ask politicians to come on to their shows and on a show be this rude because the politician isn't saying what they want them to say? When has this ever happened? This shows you how desperate they are.
Concern over a constituent of mine having problems with the IRS, and it takes up to 6 months for me to get a response.
Look, I'm not saying there's no problems with government agencies or the IRS.
Hold on. You asked me a question.
But you're not answering it.
And the IRS has.
You see that? You see that? She rudely tried to cut him off. He said, hold on, you asked me a question. You're not answering it. Excuse me? Excuse me?
Well, the IRS has hundreds of different groups that have access to this stuff, and yet no one's complained about that. You don't hear
There's
the left
checks and
about it,
balances
but
in
now
place
they
for
do,
the specific
because
system. That's
ma'am,
not
there
true.
are
Even
no
the
checks and
IRS,
balances, but
even
no, ma'am.
politicals and the former
No, ma'am.
IRS
The
commissioner who was
IRS
just on the show yesterday said even he didn't go to it. And
She's a reporter telling a congressman how the IRS works. She's a news reporter about how the IRS works.
former
No, ma'am.
IRS
The
commissioner who was
IRS
just on the show yesterday said even he didn't go to it, and it's highly unusual for politicals to have access to that system. Do you not have questions about what they're doing with the data, why they want access to private tax information from Americans? Do you not have those questions as a member of the Oversight Committee?
I have questions. Only reason you'd have questions is if you're doing something crooked, and you're going to see a lot of congressmen with red faces when they follow this paper trail back to members of Congress, ma'am. And that's the bottom line.
You kept pushing, and you got the answer you didn't want. You kept pushing, and you got the answer you didn't want with your smarmy ass.
Committee?
I have questions. Only reason you'd have questions is if you're doing something crooked, and you're going to see a lot of congressmen with red faces when they follow this paper trail back to members of Congress, ma'am. And that's the bottom line. Where were they fussing the last 3 or 4 years? I mean, we've had these groups different groups have access. Hundreds of different people have access to this that are nowhere in the scope of what needs to be. And yet no one raised one peep about it. Now Elon Musk gets a hold of it, and he's going to do something. He's going to make some changes that need to be made. And you all are pitching a fit. It's the same old line, and you attack the message
To be
carrier,
clear, you all were not
message.
pitching a fit. As I said, a lot of people think it's a good thing to weed out waste, but there are fair questions to be asking congressmen about these unelected people going in and having access to private information from America. How can you not be asking those questions? Those are very fair questions.
Ma'am,
but hold on, let me follow up
members-
with you.
how
Hold
many
on,
members-
because there's a difference between, listen.
Hey, hold on for a second. How many people at the IRS are elected? How many of those are elected, ma'am? You're proving my point. You've got all these people, and this is a very porous agency. We know that.
There's a
They've been
difference
hacked
between
multiple
civil
times,
service and checks and balances in place in a small group and politicals who are going in, many of them young staffers who we know nothing about really. Why don't you have those questions as a member of the Oversight Committee? If a Democratic administration was doing this, would you not be asking questions?
Like, why interview the man if you're going to talk over him? Why interview the man if you're going to talk over him? Like, she should be fired. She should be fired. And you know something else that I noticed? Whenever you have guy reporters that do this shit, they usually end up losing their jobs. Why aren't these women losing their jobs, bro? When these guys that are reporters that get overzealous like this, they lose their jobs. Why aren't these women losing their jobs?
And the questions are being asked, ma'am, but I want you to look at these.
I'm not
guns
hearing
behind
them
me.
from you.
Those are Japanese. Those Japanese rifle that, guess what? My dad was 20, 21 years old when he killed the people that carried that. You all don't question the fact that, you know, we these 20, 22-year-old people are the ones that fight our dadgum wars, but yet
there's a
when
difference
they do
between
something else,
members
you
of
want
the
to
greatest
attack
generation
them.
going
You're
to
wanting
war and
attack
risking their life to serve our country, and young staffers going in with their computers and trying to get access to personal data. There is a big difference, but I want to follow up here. I just want to follow up because I think this is an important question.
You won't answer your own questions, ma'am.
No, Congressman, hold on. I want to go to this question because, again, it's not a question of whether waste should be rooted out of the government. So many people agree with that. But now we're seeing it's the way it's being done. The government is trying to claw back several employees who oversaw nuclear weapons after they were fired. They realized, oh, we made a mistake. We need these staffers who oversee nuclear weapons. A professor at the University of Maryland, Don Kettle, who specializes in civil service, told the Washington Post that, yes, the government is likely full of wasteful bloat, but said a clumsy fix is worse than no fix at all, saying it's like going to a meat market, getting a piece of steak and trying to cut out the fat with a sledgehammer. That would only make a mess of the meat. Do you think, Congressman, that is a fair point, that the way this is being done is clumsy rather than methodical?
Again, you're upset about you're attacking the message carrier, not the results. You talk about nuclear secrets. You had a person who was in charge of nuclear secrets, a man who dressed up as a woman, would go into the airport and steal women's luggage, was overseeing those nuclear secrets under the Biden administration. And I never heard y'all say a peep about that. Again, man.
I don't know anything about that. I'll be transparent.
Elon Musk, well, you need to look it up. It's all over the internet. It's all over. He was
But the question is, this is unrelated to the people overseeing nuclear weapons being fired. And Elon Musk himself said, we're moving so fast, of course there will be mistakes. The question is,
like, she's debating him. She's debating him. Is this what passes for journalism in this day and age? She's debating him.
Some of these mistakes are really high stakes. Accidentally firing people overseeing nuclear weapons. Do you see that point?
Humans will make mistakes, ma'am, but currently these are bloated programs. You have no-show employees that are angry that they're having to go back to work, that they've moved, and they're not.
No one's disagreeing. There's bloat and waste.
Jobs were.
No one's disagreeing with that.
Well, then why are y'all not exposing it? Have y'all even talked about, hey, Mozambique, we sent them $10 million for circumcisions? Okay. I mean, goodness gracious, ma'am. Americans are paying
we've been covering at length
salaries.
Where the money is going to.
No, you haven't. All y'all do is run down Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and you continuously do this, and that's why your ratings are in the tank, ma'am. All right,
Congressman Tim Burchett, we're going to leave it there. I do appreciate your time coming on and having this conversation. Thank you very much.
Judge just cut him off simply because he's not saying what the left wants him to say. He's opposing them, so we're going to cut you off. You know what that is? You know what that is? You know what's funny about this? You know what that is? That is a slippery slope that leads to fascism. That's what's so hilarious about this. They spent all this time accusing Trump of he's going to be a fascist. Like, what you're doing in the news right now is headed in the direction of fascism. You only want people to be allowed to talk that agree with you. It gets worse. It gets worse. Now here's one with Marco Rubio, right? Watch this.
Pursue peace by engaging with the Russians, we're going to need to have functional embassies in Moscow and in Washington, D.C., and that's certainly something foreign ministers would talk about as a matter of normal course.
I want to ask you about what happened in Munich, Germany at the security conference. Vice President Vance gave a speech, and he told U.S. allies that the threat he worries about the most is not Russia, it is not China. He called it the threat from within, and he lectured about what he described as censorship, mainly focusing, though, on including more views from the right. He also met with the leader of a far-right party known as the AfD, which, as you know, is under investigation and monitoring by German intelligence because of extremism. What did all of this accomplish other than irritating our allies?
Well, why would our allies or anybody be irritated by free speech and by someone giving their opinion? We are, after all, democracies. The Munich Security Conference is largely a conference of democracies in which one of the things that we cherish and value is the ability to speak freely and provide your opinions. And so I think if anyone's angry about his word, they don't have to agree with him, but to be angry about it, I think actually makes his point. I thought it was actually a pretty historic speech, whether you agree with him or not. I think the valid points he's making to Europe is we are concerned that the true values that we share, the values that bind us together with Europe, are things like free speech and democracy and our shared history in winning 2 world wars and defeating Soviet communism and the like. These are the values that we shared in common. And in that Cold War, we fought against things like censorship and oppression and so forth. And when you see backsliding and you raise that, that's a very valid concern. We can't tell them how to run their countries. He simply expressed in a speech his view of it, which a lot of people frankly share. And I thought he said a lot of things in that speech that needed to be said. And honestly, I don't know why anybody would be upset about it. People are allowed, you don't have to agree with someone's speech. I happen to agree with a lot of what he said, but you don't have to agree with someone's speech to at least appreciate the fact they have a right to say it, and that you should listen to it and see whether those criticisms are valid. I assure you, the United States has come under withering criticism on many occasions from many leaders in Europe, and we don't go around throwing temper tantrums about it.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right.
Did you hear that dumb shit? He's talking about the short mustache man. Well, he was standing in a country where freedom of speech was weaponized to commit a genocide. Yeah, because that's how he committed the genocide, with free speech. That's not how he did that, ma'am. Talk about tone deaf. Talk about idiocy.
Views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. Facts. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe, and that's of concern because that is eroding. That's not an erosion of your military capabilities. That's not an erosion of your economic standing. That's an erosion of the actual values that bind us together in this transatlantic union that everybody talks about. And I think allies and friends and partners that have worked together now for 80 years should be able to speak frankly to one another in open forums. Without being offended, insulted, or upset. And I spoke to foreign ministers from multiple countries throughout Europe. Many of them probably didn't like the speech or didn't agree with it, but they were continuing to engage with us on all sorts of issues that unite us. So again, at the end of the day, I think that people give that is a forum in which you're supposed to be inviting people to give speeches, not basically a chorus where everyone is saying the exact same thing. That's not always going to be the case when it's a collection of democracies where leaders have the right and the privilege to speak their minds in forums such as these.
Mr. Secretary.
She should be made to apologize or she should be fired. To sit on the news and make such a ridiculous statement. But by the time they had even come close to doing the things they were doing in Germany, free speech had been gone. Like, she should be made to apologize on air. Like, this is no different than Kanye making insensitive statements. This is no different than what's my other man's name? It's no different. She should be made to apologize or she should be fired. Now, as far as what J.D. Vance was speaking about, check this out. This is what's going on in Germany. This is what's going on in Germany. This is what J.D. Vance was talking about, right? This is what's going on in Germany. Check this out. Do you see what they're doing? Do you see what they're doing? They're pretending that free speech was the reason for what happened back in the day, because I guess the short mustache guy used to give speeches that were hate-filled. So now they're policing German citizens for hate speech. If you know the real history of Germany, that's how the fuck that shit started last time. Am I wrong? Look, here's the thing. And this is what's so funny about this. Limited speech is not free speech. The only time freedom of speech is even tested is when you're saying something people don't want to hear. That's the entire point. The entire point. Look, you can't police racist speech without ultimately destroying freedom of speech. Because if you try to police what people are saying, let's say that you try to do some good. Let's say you're like, okay, well, we're not going to allow people to say racist stuff. We'll make that illegal. Where does that stop? Where does that stop? Where does it stop? Starts with racist words. Then it becomes offensive words. Then before you know it, you can't say shit except whatever jackbooted, thugged out political party decides you should say. This shit is crazy, bruh. This shit right here is crazy, fam. The Germans need to be stopped, bruh. They just don't quit. Let me tell you something. You want to know one of the things that always confused the hell out of me? What always confused the hell out of me is after World War II, why was Germany still a country? Why was Germany still a country after World War II? Like, they didn't even let the Soviet Union remain together. They broke that shit up. Why didn't they? Ooh, boy. But that's what J.D. Vance was speaking against. That's what J.D. Vance was speaking against. That's what he was speaking against. He was speaking against that censorship that they're engaged in over there. Here's the other one. Check this one out. And this might have been the worst one. This might have been the worst one. Check this out.
Stephen, thank you so much for taking time for us. So who is in charge of Doge?
The President of the United States.
He's the administrator of Doge?
No, the Doge is what was formerly U.S. Digital Services. It's an agency of the federal government that
look at the look on her fucking face. She is so full of shit. Look at the look on her face. She's not doing this interview for any decent purposes. She already knows I'm gonna try to catch him up in some shit, and I'm gonna try to paint a narrative. Look at her fucking face.
reports into the office of the Executive Office of the President, which reports to the President of the United States.
Okay.
The way that Article 2 works is a president wins an election, and then he appoints staff, including myself, including Mike Waltz, including Susie Wiles,
Yes.
including Elon Musk, and those staff report to him.
Okay, well aware. So Elon Musk a week ago answered a question about...
Okay, well aware. It's already off the rip. Disrespectful. Already off the rip. Disrespectful. Okay, well aware.
About transparency at Doge. This is how he spoke about Doge.
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, our actions, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent.
So you hear him there. We post our actions. All of our actions are maximally transparent. Does Elon Musk know he's not in charge of Doge?
Again.
What? Is it just me? Or was that just the dumbest question ever? Is it just me, or was that just the most, like, they are literally scraping the bottom of the propaganda barrel at this point.
The president runs the government, then the president appoints advisors, including Elon, including myself, including all the other staff here at the White House, and then those staff in turn execute the president's commands and directions to all the agencies of the federal government. This is how democracy works, something that we treasure in America. The whole American people go to the ballot box, they elect the president appoints staff, the staff then administer his orders and directives across the whole U.S. government.
Okay, Stephen, I get that, but this is important because we want to talk about who's making the decisions here. There were 300 employees, the National Nuclear Security Administration, you know about this. They were fired. The agency had...
He literally just said who makes the decisions. He literally said who makes the decisions. Literally.
rescind those terminations because these were employees who were critical to maintaining the nation's nuclear stockpile. So then who is it making those decisions of which federal employees are terminated?
Well, in that case, the Secretary of Energy would be the one. So what you're describing with the cuts in the Department of Energy, those are directed by the Senate-confirmed Secretary of Energy.
Okay, so that was the Secretary of Energy's mistake.
Well, I wouldn't use the term mistake. I would say that it's pretty standard when you're downsizing government. You make cuts, you assess those cuts, you see who needs to be rehired, who needs to be kept, who needs to be
That's not what happened here, though, Stephen. You know that they were rescinded. These aren't normal things. These were terminations that were rescinded.
I understand that even a temporary interruption in federal employment is a great crisis and catastrophe for you and for CNN. What the American people see is a government that is finally delivering a promise of accountability under President Trump. You want to have a conversation about transparency? Let me ask you a question. Do you have any idea where the $22 billion that the Department of Health and Human Services provided to illegal aliens under Joe Biden is right now? $22 billion with the B. That's enough to provide a free house to every homeless veteran in America. Where's the $22 billion? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Joe Biden just spent it, and now it's gone. Transparency begins with having an accounting of where every federal dollar is spent. And God bless President Trump for leading this effort.
Stephen, it seems like the crisis here had to do with the nation's nuclear stockpile. And for these particular federal workers, which I'm not, so this isn't my personal crisis, military members of the Guard and the Reserve.
I don't think it's a crisis,
well,
and you don't think it's...
Well,
hold on. I don't think it's a crisis,
Stephen,
and you don't think it's a crisis, then why are we talking about it?
Military, it is a crisis.
Facts. 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 And this is the reason why they do not let them, they don't want them to interject. They try to talk over them because they're trying to push a narrative. They're trying to push a narrative. And at this point, it is blatantly obvious. Blatantly obvious.
For some people, for instance, military members.
But you just said you didn't think it was a crisis.
It's not my crisis, Stephen. I'm not a federal employee.
Okay, so I don't think it's a crisis, and you don't think it's a crisis, so no one thinks it's a crisis.
It's not my personal crisis of employment.
Now, one of the things I like about him is he don't be playing these goofy games with them. Like, everything whatever energy they come with, he's going to come with that same energy. You feel me? He's going to come with that same energy. Him, the other congressman I just showed you, and Mark Rubio, they're going to come with the same energy.
If you have concerns about the nation's nuclear stockpile, then it is obviously a crisis.
The concerns
it's an issue
when
it
comes to
Stephen, please, we're getting off track.
Nuclear weapons,
I think, Stephen, this is a very important question.
Well, you want to talk about nuclear security? I'm happy to. the nuclear stockpile in this country has been aging and unmonitored for years. President Trump is committed to the modernization
we're talking
of our
about
nuclear
Doge,
stockpile and to historic investment in nuclear security. Additionally, the president is committed to preventing global nuclear war, which we have never been closer to than we are right now. And he is leading peace negotiations to end a war in Europe that could very well lead to a nuclear war, which is the worst possible nuclear catastrophe any of us could envision.
Okay, Stephen, so there are military members of the Guard and Reserve. They are protected by law from being fired from their day job while they're deployed. I have learned that at one agency...
She is still hung up on who got fired. How ridiculous is this, bro? How ridiculous is this? She is still nagging about who got fired, and every person that got fired, Trump has the ability to fire. The president has the ability to fire. Bill Clinton fired 370-some thousand federal employees. I didn't hear shit about it back in the day.
An employee who's actually currently deployed with the military has been notified they've been fired. Does your administration understand who actually makes up this workforce that they're dismantling?
I'm sorry, I'm confused by your question. Is your question, does the president have the authority to fire a member of the U.S. military?
This is someone who is a federal employee and is currently deployed.
This is how fucking stupid they are. This is how fucking stupid they are. And that's why he asked her that question. He's like, hold on, I'm confused. Are you asking me, does the president of the United States have the ability? Like, this is how fucking stupid they are.
This is someone who is a federal employee and is currently deployed, who has government protection. As I'm sure you're aware,
there's
there are
a lot
laws
of
protecting that.
I don't know what laws you're referring to. I would love for you to be more specific. So far, you're not telling me the employee, the agency,
Uniformed Services
the
Employment. Understand who actually makes up this workforce that they're dismantling.
I'm sorry, I'm confused by your question. Is your question, does the president have the authority to fire a member of the U.S. military?
This is someone who is a federal employee and is currently deployed.
Ma'am, the president is the commander-in-chief. The president is the commander-in-chief.
Who has government protection. As I'm sure you're aware,
there's
there are
a lot
laws
of
protecting that.
I don't know what laws you're referring to. I would love for you to be more specific. So far, you're not telling me the employee, the agency,
Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. It's well known by HR in the federal government and in private industry as well.
So, okay, so you're saying that the president, in your view, doesn't have the authority to recall a member of the armed forces who may or may not, again, I'm the first time hearing of this, that may or may not be serving overseas?
Stephen, you understand how the Guard and Reserve work. They have a day job, and then when they're activated, they deploy. While they deploy,
right, but
that employment is protected by law.
Your question is lacking in so much detail. I promise you I'm trying to follow your question. Are you asking me if the president has the authority to remove a member of the military who may be serving overseas? Is that your question?
No, my question was...
Okay, well, I don't know how much airtime you want to spend on this, but I'm not following your question.
Well, I think it's an important one. I guess I'll determine how much airtime I spend on it, but does your administration...
I guess I'll determine how much airtime I want to spend on it. Okay.
administration understand who is in the federal workforce?
Yes, we have such a broad question. Of course, we understand who's in the federal workforce. And I'm happy to indulge all of these very histrionic questions
That
about
it's
anyone who may or may not
30%,
be fired.
that it's 30% veterans?
But I think that
And that you have people who are deployed?
The U.S. government has $36 trillion in debt. The interest payments on the debt exceed the national defense budget. The American people are exhausted and tired of watching their tax dollars be corruptly spent, abused, wasted, and in every sense robbed and stolen from them. This president, for the first time in history, is committed to restoring accountability at every level of the federal government. You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you
asserting,
may
I
assert
don't
there's
think
no waste in
anyone would assert that,
HHS.
Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? Every day that no action is taken, the entire
Stephen, let's calm
salaries
down.
of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is
we're
not
having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether they're...
We're not having a debate. Really? I can't tell. I can't tell. Seems to me like you're debating him. Seems like to me you're debating him.
Well, you are clearly trying to debate me, and I will be as excited as I want to be about the fact that we well, you are clearly trying. The entire
Stephen, let's calm
salaries
down.
of American workers that are taxed disappear.
She needs to be fired. She needs to be fired. I'm telling you right now, when it comes to mainstream media, most of them need to be fired. They need to give some new people a shot at being journalists. They need to fire these people. They need to fire these people. They need to dismantle these organizations and get some fresh blood in there. They need to fix this shit, bro. They need to fix this shit. Like, for real.
Cuts, the reforms that are being instituted. Every day that no action is taken, the entire
Stephen, let's calm
salaries
down.
of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is
we're
not
having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether there are
Well, you are
places...
clearly trying to debate me, and I will be as excited as I want to be about the fact that we are saving Americans billions of dollars, that we are ending the theft and waste and grift and corruption, that we are stopping American taxpayer dollars from subsidizing a rogue federal bureaucracy that has been relentlessly weaponized against the American people.
Okay,
you may
Stephen,
not care about
I'm
this
not
issue.
talking about
Your colleagues
whether
may not
there's
care about
not
this
an
issue.
area
But we care
to
about this
cut in
issue.
the
The
government. I
American
understand
people
that,
care about
Stephen.
this issue.
They also care about privacy.
And the American
so let me
public
ask you about
overwhelmingly
that.
supports what President
Stephen,
Trump is doing.
Let's talk about IRS. Steve.
It's ridiculous. There's no other way to describe it. It's utterly ridiculous. Shout out to Derek. He said, salute, big bro. Appreciate all this knowledge, fam. Appreciate you. Shout out to Floyd. Appreciate you. Shout out to LAPD SWAT 1 said, you got to get Victor David Hansen or Dr. Steve Turley on your show. I got to see about that. I actually watched both of them. Shout out to Max Jr. Said he got to pulling those receipts out now. She can't take it. Now the conversation is suddenly over. She can't handle the truth. Yeah. Shout out to the lowly one. Says she didn't learn her lesson from Jim Acosta. Apparently not. Apparently not, because in my opinion, all of them are acting like Jim Acosta did that day he was trying to fight for that microphone. Like, all of them are doing it. All of them are doing it, bro. And to be truthfully honest, shit needs to be called out. Needs to be called out, man. But look, I've been on here long enough, man. Shout out to everybody that's been hanging out with me. Shout out to Christopher. Appreciate you, fam.
$50 boss up. Stack up and match up.
Shout out to everybody that's been hanging out with me, man. I appreciate y'all for hanging out. We've been here for a minute. But yo, man, make sure you guys go check out my book. Shout out to Lifeline Music. Make sure you guys go check out my book. It's available on Amazon. All you have to do is type The Angryman Standard in the search bar and it will come up. Also, if you want to check out the merchandise, all you have to do is go to shopBinoNation.com. Again, that is shopBinoNation.com. And my bad. With that being said, I appreciate you guys for supporting the show. Appreciate you guys for hitting the like button. Appreciate the sponsors. I'm going to holler at you guys tomorrow. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?